So today we're going to have the opportunity to be an observer, to be an eyewitness, if you will, and we're going to work on our abilities to make some observations. So I call this activity learning to see. A lot of times we take in visual information, but we're not really attending to what we're seeing. So for each picture, you're going to have 30 seconds to view, and then you will be stopped and asked to respond to some questions about what you saw. So we're going to start with the first picture, and here is the first picture. And time. Here are your questions. Now let's talk about those questions. At what location was the photograph taken? Well, if you look back at the sign out front, it was taken at the Glenview Municipal Center. The next question is how many cars are pictured? Well, there's two that are visible. There might be a third one behind the Municipal Center sign because you can see the tire, you just wouldn't be able to describe the car. So let's focus on those two cars out front. The next question was, what color are the cars? Well, maybe you called the one on the left tan. Some people call it taupe. Some people might even say that it's gold. And then how about the one on the right? Maybe you said silver. Maybe you said gray. One of the challenges in making observations or even collecting eyewitness reports is distinguishing what color it is that you're seeing. There are so many different terms used for things that a lot of people see exactly the same. So what types of offices are located in the building? Well, if you look at it, you can see town offices at the sign there, police department, the town court. And then how many small trees are in the picture? Well, that's a curious question because what is exactly small? Under 10 feet? Under 20 feet? How do you know if the trees in the background aren't just as short? At least some that are behind that sign. So if you said 2, you got it right. The next question was the photograph was taken in New York State during which season? Well, in order to understand this one, you have to have a little bit of background knowledge. And so if you notice in front of the sign, there are tulips that are growing. Tulips grow from a bulb and bloom only in the spring. And then the last question is how many people are in the photograph? Well, visible, it doesn't look like there's anyone. But I don't know, look closely. Are there people in that car? In one of those two cars? You know, parked waiting for somebody that may have run into one of those offices? That's the hard part, is sometimes being very, very detailed in where we're taking in information. So let's now take a look at the second picture. 30 seconds, ready, go. And time. And here's the questions for photograph number 2. Nice. Now let's go over some of those questions and see what we see. Well, what did you call the item that was in picture 2? Some people call this a vase, an urn, a pot. I've even had people call it a cookie jar before. So if you had some of those answers, that's correct. But a lot of times when we're making observations about things that we might see in the crime scene, sometimes it's hard to find the right word to describe what we're looking at. The next question asked us to describe the shape of the object pictured. I would say it's hourglass shaped. And what colors are on the object? So again, with that question with the color, you've got dark blue, dark green, light green, or lime green even, gold, peach, brown. Man, there's just a lot of colors in there. So, but if you could be more detailed about where you see a certain color, like the next question, what color edged the top of the object, being the dark blue color, that is actually a little bit more helpful. All right, so then upon what is the object displayed? Well, I'm assuming that you probably said a chair, but could you be more detailed? What type of chair is it? It's a wooden chair. Where is the item sitting? It's on the seat of the chair. And then how did you describe the design on the object? Were you able to sketch it? So some people are really good at that type of visual acuity. I know that I wouldn't have been able to draw this. I describe it as I see some triangles and some swirlies and some things that look like flowers on there. I don't know, something even looks kind of like a seahorse to me. So this one would have been very hard for me to describe to somebody. Now, what's the approximate size of this object? Because that's the final question. And kind of going back to that concept of size is really hard to identify because how tall is this chair? It looks like the back of the chair isn't necessarily proportional to the seat of the chair. In the background, you might be able to use something. So when you look in the background, you can see a window that almost, I can't tell if it's part of a door or not. I can see one of those like security, this house protected by alarms or whatever sign, but that still doesn't tell me how tall that is. So I don't know, did you say the pot was 12 inches, 14 inches, 16 inches? Did you also describe how wide it was? Because that's really, really hard. Now, to differentiate size, a lot of times when crime scene investigators look at evidence, they always take a picture of it with a ruler in the picture. That gives us perspective. Another example of that is over at Stop and Go. If you go over there and you buy something and you go to walk back out, take a look at the left-hand side of the door frame because it's kind of a double door. One goes in, one goes out. But look on the left-hand side. At least I think it's on the left. It might be in the middle. They have almost like a ruler that goes up the side, up to a certain height. I'm sorry, up to like about 5 feet, it's one color. Between 5 and 6 feet, it's another color. And then above 6 feet, it's another color yet. And so that's where the security camera shows everyone that enters. So if somebody was stealing or tried to, hold up the Stop and Go, they'd be able to get your image on that security camera right up against that tape measure, so they'd know how tall you were. All right, here we go. Next picture. Oop, it didn't click. Sorry. Here you go. And time. And here's your questions for photograph number 3. Good. Now, how many people are in photograph 3? Hopefully you said just one. What's the sex or gender of the person in the picture? Hopefully you said female. And then what is the approximate age of the person in the photograph? That's a tough one, isn't it? She's actually just 40 in this picture. Really curious. Some people guess her much older. Some people sometimes guess her a little bit younger, but she's just 40. Now, what color's the person's hair? Hopefully you said blonde. And then does the person have any distinguishing features like glasses, right? If it was a male, you could use facial hair to describe him. But in this case, the lady does have glasses. If you can describe the glasses, that's also even better. But then the next question is, can you describe the person's clothing? Well, here's how detailed I would provide the description. She's wearing a short sleeve boat necked t-shirt that is alternating white, navy blue, and light blue stripes. Periodically, there was a red stripe. The stripes are horizontal. So that's pretty detailed. How well did you do with the detail of your observations? Is this person wearing any jewelry? Hopefully you said earrings, post earrings. She's wearing a pendant necklace. Well, what color is the gemstone? What kind of necklace? It's a gold chain necklace with a blue gemstone. Can you describe where the picture was taken? Looks like a school. Based on the evidence in the photograph, can you form a hypothesis about the person's occupation? Well, maybe she's a science teacher. There's an anatomy book on her desk. There's a bunch of binders in the background. It also looks like there's criminalistics books on her desk, too. She does happen to have the exact same poster that I have about the human genome on her door. Is it possible to identify the interests of the person based on the evidence in the room? Like, how do you know what she likes? How do you know? Sometimes people say, well, she looks happy. Yeah, that's a possibility. Well, I don't think it's possible to judge what you can observe from this picture. Here's our next picture. And time. Here's your questions. Fantastic. Let's see how you did on this one. So what time was it by the bank's clock? Should have said 5:45 p.m. What day of the week was it? Saturday. What was the name of the outdoor cafe? Jane's. On what street was the entrance to the restaurant? Bates. How many thieves are staging the holdup? 2. Were they armed? Did they have a weapon? Yes, they were. How many bags of loot were they carrying? Hopefully you counted 3. Was the thief in the street wearing a hat? Yep. Which thief? That's the other question. How many people besides you and the holdup men were at the robbery? Ooh, you shouldn't have been able to answer that one because you can't see who's all in the bank. What were the initials of the man in the business suit? Hopefully you got VL. What immediate danger was he in? Well, the plant was about to fall on his head. Was the onlooker from the second floor a man or a woman? It's a woman. What store was next to the cafe? That was Crawford Produce. And what was the shopper stealing? Grapes. What was the license plate number of the car parked in front of the store? F472. How do you know the car was parked illegally? Well, it's over the crosswalk and it's close to the fire hydrant. What part of the car is being vandalized? The tires. What type of hat is the person wearing who's vandalizing the car? A baseball hat. What offense was in progress against the female diner? Purse snatching. What was the cost of the grapes? 89 cents. Interesting. So there's a couple of things that you could have gotten from this picture. One was the amount of deductive reasoning that you needed to use. You had to take information about what day of the week it was. How did you figure that one out? Well, if you knew it was 5:45 p.m., if you looked at the produce store sign, it says their hours. And it says that they're closed on Sunday, so it can't be Sunday. And on Monday through Friday, they're not open that late, only on Saturdays. So that was an example of using deductive reasoning. Hope you guys had fun with this, and I hope that you learned a little bit about what to look for.